Thank you for joining Stay Curious. I'm the host, Mark Marquette, coming to you live from the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, Florida, just about, 10 or 12 miles from where this Falcon 9 rocket, that one right there, did the last landing, the 53rd one at LZ1, as SpaceX is now turning that pad over to a local company. That's our local rocket company, Via Space. We'll talk about that briefly in a minute. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers as I was on a bereavement leave at the death of my brother, Craig. And I appreciate everybody thinking of me in their thoughts. Uh, and that's life, and it goes on. And we all have heartaches and hardships, and it's how you get through them that builds your character, I guess. So, I'm, of course, reinvigorated. Nothing like the death of a loved one to underline your own mortality, and what we've been doing here at the American Space Museum for the last few years, 5 years, in fact, bringing you Stay Curious and content like none other on YouTube. And thanks to my co producer, Marty Winkle, for keeping the program going with some excellent reruns of some of the wonderful interviews we've done with people over the past 5 years. Marty, great job picking those out on there. And got a few little technical difficulties we're working through today. One, our volume on our microphones. So I'm in my outdoor voice here, and one of the microphones didn't work. So won't be able to say hi to Marty and hear his wonderful soft voice on there. But you did a great job, Marty, you and Matthew Raj, and I appreciate y'all. Instead of just suspending the program, we had some great interviews with space workers, astronauts. A good, after all, we've got such a database, over 1,300 episodes to draw from. So we'll be doing more of that, playing more reruns for you all. Thank you for watching. And let's kick it off today with me looking back a little bit at how we all started. A picture that I seldom see of myself all masked up there during the COVID pandemic 5 years ago. Just think about that, Marty, what we were thinking about the world and what might happen with the COVID pandemic. It certainly uh, claimed a lot of lives. When I went back to Tennessee, uh, I was reminded of two good friends that were gone and lost their lives to the COVID virus. And let's don't forget about, where we were so many years ago and the uncertainty of it all. But nobody really wants to talk about it, but we came out of it pretty good in many ways, and it made our museum quite strong uh, from the standpoint of creating this program that so many of you enjoy. Let me boom up here. My YouTube fingers are not, well, it's not bringing that. My smart tablet's not working there either. So we'll get our kinks worked out here as Marty and I go through a new week of Stay Curious today. I'm lining up guests for the rest of the month of August. And uh, tomorrow we'll hit some space news. Wednesday we'll go in detail about who's in space, as we've got four new astronauts, two brand new ones and two experienced ones up there. I don't know why my smart tablet ain't being so smart here, as I'm trying to beam up YouTube channel here. And no thanks, I don't want to try that on YouTube. There we go. And I can see your comments now on there, quite possibly. So got the live chat going. And thank you, seeing your comments there. Again, thank you, welcome everybody, and for your condolences. I see Gary Gerald, Mark Thell, Rob Law, RG Jubilee, Dave Stangy, Tom Celentano. And thank you so much, guys. The sound and picture are all good, Dave Stangy says. So let's carry on with that. Let me set that over there. and get you up to speed on who is orbiting Earth. We've added 2 new humans orbiting the Earth, up to 638, and 1 new woman. All right, making it 83. That new woman was Zena Cardman. We have 14 humans orbiting the Earth. The record's 19, set in September 2024. Of course, we got on the International Space Station 11 people, Marty. A little crowded up there, they say, when you get over 7, 8 people up there. But you got the Crew Dragon 10 up there. And they've been up there for about 5 months. Soyuz MS-27, 2 Russians and an American astronaut on there. So we've got 3 American women. Okay, let me grab my cheat sheets over here that I have handy. Yep, they're still there. Johnny Kim is joined by, of course, Anne McLean and Nicole Ayers up there with Russians, 3 Russians and 4 Americans up there now. And the of the 4 Americans, 3 of them are women. Zena Cardman, like I said, Anne McLean, and Nicole Ayers. And at the bottom there are the Crew 11, and that includes Michael Fink, nicknamed Spanky. And Michael Fink has, on his 385th day in space, the crew docked 3 days ago. And we have experienced JAXA astronaut Kimiya Yui. This is his 145th day in space. And then you've got a Russian Oleg rookie up there of Crew 11. And they're part of the Expedition 73, 74 group of astronauts up there doing experiments. And then, of course, you got the Shenzhou 20, the 3 Chinese Takyonauts on their Tiangong Heavenly Space Station. We'll look at them a little more detail Wednesday on Stay Curious. But 14 humans orbiting the Earth, Marty. And the Crew 11 was launched on this booster that I think was its 4th or 5th, I think it was its 5th flight of this one booster. Marty's nodding yes. Landed at landing zone number 1. There's another 2 right beside it for the 53rd time and last time, as they will be now landing near their pad where they took off, either pad 40 or 39A. And the 53rd launch was quite spectacular, everybody told me. They were amazed that they launched it, Marty. It was right in between a cloud separation of clouds. There was lightning at Cape Canaveral, number 2 lightning alert, and a lot of people were surprised that they launched and then landed, and not many people saw it because of the cloud cover that was overhead. But this pad is now going to be taken over by our good friends at Via Space in nearby Cocoa, Florida. And another company that escapes me is also going to use this pad. And the Dauntless plastic-fueled rocket of Via Space will be launching from here, hopefully a year from now. I think they're planning the fall of 2026 to start their cadence of low Earth payloads, about 5,000 pounds. So that'll be exciting to see. But the last landing there at LZ1, Marty, and that had to been, everybody heard the booms, the double sonic booms go through there. So, well, we want to give a great thank you to these 2 friends and partners of the American Space Museum, Mark Usiak in the front and his big brother Tommy in the back. This is the remote Hasselblad camera system that Mark dropped off at the museum last night, and we're going to put it on display as soon as we can in our shuttle gallery. So I'll bet there's not many museums that have a well-used and historic in many ways of the photos it took of shuttles remote camera system in their museum. So we're going to have that on display. And just one of the great things that the USAC brothers do to support the American Space Museum with their wonderful photography, as well as loaning us this Hasselblad remote camera system that Steve Nolte and Bob Pierston designed for these photographers that had lots of their photos in the publications of the time. And the premier publication at the time was uh, Aviation Space and Weekly on there. So, Steve Jokums, thank you for your thoughts. And he said, Marty, you chose a lot of great past episodes. And uh, he wanted to thank Marty for your fine work. And he thought this might be, well, we're live today. Thanks for straightening him out there, Dave. And so, can't say enough about these two brothers, the friends they've become. Met them through Chris Callie. Well, I actually met Chris Callie through Mark and Tom Usiak there. And want to give a big thank out to Mr. Jay Honeycutt on the left, former Kennedy Space Center director, and John Tribe on the right, hypergolics expert for Rockwell. They did an excellent job on our celebrating the 50th anniversary of Peace in Earth Orbit. That is on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it. We broadcast that on Saturday, July 19th, and some really interesting insights from Jay, who was a simulation manager in Houston during this. That he's basically a Johnson City guy that ended up being Kennedy Space Center director in 1996, 97, that time frame. And Jay, thank you for always willing to share your knowledge, as well as John Tribe there. And you can hear them talking with fascination about the Peace in Earth Orbit 50 years ago with the Apollo-Soyuz test project. A great success. And we shared some of the Stay Curious episodes about the artwork. This was Paul Callie's artwork that he proposed in a reprise of it by his son Chris and Tim Gagnon worked together on this to create a dove and olive branch theme for the Apollo-Soyuz test project. It was 50 years ago, started the relationships, broke down some of the barriers between the two superpowers who were once adversaries trying to go to the moon ahead of one another, and then in 1975 shook hands in space. And we're going to celebrate 25 years of that going on the International Space Station, as again we have 4 Russians and 4 Americans, and 2 Japanese. Who am I leaving out? I'm leaving out somebody, 11 in there. Look at my list there. But we'll move on there. Also, while I was away, our STEAM education program that we want you to know goes very strong had Dog Days of Summer, an event for about 15 kids and their parents, where the police department of Titusville came in. There's one of the sergeants in the background. Amy on the left, Amy, I think her last name's Williams, and Natalia Sepulveda in the foreground conducted this. Natalia is our bilingual STEAM education teacher. Amy is involved with the Coalition for Education, which is getting books in the hands of preschoolers and elementary students. And this is a successful program that we've enjoyed doing with the coalition. There we had the dogs come in there, being an important part of most all police programs now are the deputized dogs and the things they do to search for drugs or chase down criminals. And then they had one of their riot vehicles, for better term, in the back parking lot, and they all took a good picture of it and had a lot of fun there. And this is so important to our museum to have a program for the youth, and this has been the dream always of our past director, Karen Conklin, who we miss every day and who lost her life to cancer. It'll be a year Friday, Marty, that Karen left this earth, and that doesn't seem possible. But we carry on our STEAM program a lot in her memory, and it's really working out good. Well, astronaut birthdays, of course, are one of my favorite fortes to talk about. After all, over 250 American astronauts uh, out there talking about their experience almost on a daily basis. So we always want to celebrate them. We had a couple this week that I didn't want to get through. Didn't want to pass by you all. Stay curious watchers. Dick Covey, well known, returned to flight pilot, shuttle commander, born in Fayetteville, Arkansas in 1946 on August 1st. Okay, so, and Koichi Wakata, known as the Man, it was his nickname. JAXA's most experienced astronaut with 504 days in space. Were both born on August 1st. Covey, Fayetteville, Arkansas, but he considers Fort Walton Beach, Florida to be his hometown. And Covey's one of 24 Purdue knots from that college made an astronaut. And of course, he was pilot on return to flight in a previous mission, STS-26 and STS-51I, and he was commander of STS-38 and STS-61. And Koichi rode 3 shuttles, a Soyuz TMA, and Crew 5 vehicles, actually 2 shuttles. So he's in a shuttle, a Soyuz, and a SpaceX Crew Dragon. I think he was the first to do all 3 on there. Now there's about 8 of you that have done that, I believe. So he played the game of Go in space with fellow astronaut Dan Barry. And that's kind of a Chinese chess type of game. And we wanted to give a shout out to this young lady, Joan Higginbotham. She went from space worker to astronaut, shown there with Bert Dicht. I apologize to Bert that I was supposed to have him on last Thursday, and a week ago Thursday, actually, and it didn't work out. But thank you, Bert, for helping us out. There's a great shot of you and Joan, born August 3rd, 1964, in Chicago, Illinois. And she was a Kennedy Space Center electrical engineer who became an astronaut. All right, Kay Heyer was the first to do that. Then Nicole Stott, and believe she was the third one, Joan. Marty, Joan lived 6 years in Titusville in an apartment, she told me when I met her at the Hall of Fame events last June, and she's anxious to see our museum, and I see she's lined up to talk at the Kennedy Space Center here next month, I believe. So happy birthday to you, Joan Higginbotham. But today's birthday trio are 3 great astronauts. I met all 3 of them. Sammy Gemar on the left was born in Yankton, South Dakota in 1955. Okay, he is 70 years old today. As is on the far right, Andy Allen, born 70 years ago in Richboro, Pennsylvania. And he's the only astronaut to graduate from Villanova University, U.S. Marine Corps, URA, with the nickname Slick. And in the middle there is Mike McCulley. Happy 82nd birthday to Mike, pilot of STS-34s that sent Galileo spacecraft to Jupiter. The first submariner to go to space is Mike, born in San Diego, California, but he grew up in Livingston, Tennessee, and has been very dear to that place. He was born in San Diego, and he told his story. There's Mike on his flight, how he looked with Ellen Baker There he is pointing a picture out. This is out of a scrapbook that we have here in the American Space Museum that a space lover put together and donated to us a decade ago. But Macaulay's father died in a car wreck when he was 8 years old, I think, in San Diego. And the next thing he says he knew, he was standing at the airport in Nashville going to live in Livingston where his mom's sister lived. And that become his adopted hometown. There's Mike. What a wonderful guy. Major architect of the United Space Alliance, taking over the operation of the shuttle. Very beloved president and CEO, and a very hands-on boss, I'm told. You'd see Mike in the lunchroom. You'd see him walking around the facility, the shuttles being built, motivating his team to do their best. And Mike, we miss you. Hope you're doing good. He's done so much for the museum, and happy 82nd birthday to you. And there is Slick, Andy Allen, with his pumpkin suit on there. Like I said, born in Richboro, Pennsylvania, Villanova University. I asked Andy when we interviewed him on Stay Curious, and there he is with John Zarella on the right. He was our featured speaker in January at the Astronaut Memorial. I asked Andy if they built a statue to you or something at Villanova, and he says, no, they got a little case in the library with some of my space flown stuff in there. He is president of a company that his father founded, Aerodyne Industries. I think he said he had about 800 employees out there working on Artemis. So, Andy, hope you're having a good time today. Well, of course, I missing 2 weeks of talking about some of the shuttles of July that you know that I enjoy talking about every month. But just to look back quickly of these amazing vehicles and what they did each month. I'm looking for my sheet. We had 11 shuttles in the month, and they included the return to flight 114 there on the bottom. Eileen Collins' first pilot was right here, 93 and then 114. They're in order of when they flew. And Andy's tethered satellite flight, STS-46 on the far right, he was the pilot for that tethered satellite. And of course, in the middle, you've got the STS-70 with our good friend Don Thomas and the Northern Flicker Woodpecker. Had its own way with that ET tank on there. But so some great shuttles in the month of July. Every month has some awesome, memorable shuttle flights. 68 crewmen launched, 15 women in the shuttles of August back then. And we're at July. What a month for space history. Of course, we've got the what do we have? I was going to say we had 11 shuttles. We had Gemini 10, John Young and Mike Collins, a spacewalk. And we've got Gemini 10, Apollo 11 and 15 launched. Mercury's Gus Grissom. All right, the Apollo-Soyuz test project. And Skylab, the second crew, don't call me 3, call me 2. If I'm an engineer, call me 3. Skylab with the second crew included Jack Lausma, who's still alive to talk about that mission on there. So Tom Celentano is saying he wondered if Andy Allen, this is not going to work, was a classmate of Pope Leo, as they're the same age and we're at Villanova maybe at the same time. We'll get, Andy's very busy. We'll get him on one day to talk about that. Let me plug in my smart tablet here that was unsmartly unplugged there. And that ain't gonna work. So that might go dead on me, folks. There, working our way through a return to Bridge into Space with you all there. So um, Shuttles of July. Let's look at some highlights of some of the stuff in July that we had. Um, oh, was the Cola Wars. Yes, and there is um, Gordon Fullerton seated in the lower left, lower right there. He was the commander of this. Of course, Gordon Fullerton, important in the approach and landing tests. That I didn't do a program with Bob Seek in July, but we're going to get back to that with Bob Seek and do that. But a great crew there, and in the far right with the mustache, that is John David Bartow, who's a friend of ours. I congratulated John David on a 40th anniversary of this mission, and he was he said, yes, we're all in communication talking about it. You had Roy Bridges there, Story Musgrave, Tony England, Hines, Acton, and Bartow up there. That was Acton and Bartow is their one mission there. And there's Hines drinking in the Cola Wars, the Coca-Cola can. Coca-Cola spent a lot of money on it, and we're going to be the ones to test this. And then NASA thought, wait a minute, we got to give Pepsi the same kind of love. We can't be prejudiced to one soda or the other. And they gave Pepsi about 6 weeks to throw a can together. It was basically a shaving cream can. This was more elaborate, the Coke can. And Chuck Jeffries, our collection analyst, is going to be loan us a real prototype of that can one day. But there it is being tested in space. One little trivia incident of space history. The Cola Wars were waged in July 1985. So we're talking 40 years ago. And of course, the landing of Apollo 15 on the moon, my favorite Apollo mission. An amazing landing near a former lava tube that collapsed, popping over right Hadley Mountain behind the LEM there that was called Falcon. And David Scott was the commander, and he famously dropped a falcon feather and a hammer that obviously weigh a lot of difference between each other, and they landed on the no atmosphere 6G surface of the moon at the same time, proving that Galileo was right when he said that. And we got to give a little love to Chris Calley. Saw Chris today. We had our fourth Shuttle Fest committee meeting today remotely, and things are in line for Shuttle Fest 5 to be June 19th, 20th, and 21st here at the Cocoa Beach Hilton. So you'll be hearing, of course, a lot about that as we're getting the astronaut lineup together. Chris did this beautiful tribute, to the Apollo program, and got the Grumman logo up there just for Marty. And that's Marty, of course, if you don't know, was a lead electrical engineer on the Grumman lunar module. All those limbs there. And Chris's recent work it's going to commemorate the Apollo 11 40 or 56th anniversary. It would be this year, with his visor shot, famous, one of the most famous images ever taken on film. Buzz Aldrin on the moon with Neil and Lunar Module Eagle in the visor there, and Chris has put the universe behind it. Thank you, Chris, for your support of the American Space Museum, as always. So, of course, we're going to be talking about the shuttles of the month of August, as we're into August 4th here. And only 9 shuttles launched in August. All right, where's my little sheet on them? Thank you, Marty. Everybody watching today. Steve Jokums, thank you. Carlton Bailey's watching. We're going to bring CB on once a month on the second Thursday of the month. Well, where's my neat little sheet I had. Here we are. Trying to get all my socks in one sack. 9 launches of a shuttle. All 5 orbiters flew, though. That's one of the lowest counts in a month. I think the most is 18 in November. Columbia flew one time. All of them flew one time except for Discovery. Discovery has 5 of the 9 missions in the month of August. OV-103, Discovery. 53 crewmen, 6 women. Astronaut Jim Adamson, who I know as a business friend, flew both of his missions. STS-43 was his, and 28 was the DoD mission that Jim Adamson was on, and 43 was his second flight. That is the first one launched in August. On the second, that has the that was the shape of the Mercury capsule. Ed did the first email from space, and we'll talk about that on Friday. The first email from space was done by Jim Adamson to Marsha Ivins in Houston on there. 4 space truck missions for what was to be the space truck up there deploying satellites. 3 International Space Station hard hat missions, 1 DoD mission up there, STS-28, and 1 raw science mission, which I think that'll lose to 85 there. So, and we'll talk about those in the history that they made. Certain ones deployed there. Of course, 41D is the maiden flight of Discovery. It did 5 flights, including its maiden flight, 41D. Our good friend Charlie Walker was on that with Judy Resnick and Hartsfeld. That was a pad abort that was quite hairy. 128, Marty. We're going to be seeing Jose Hernandez soon out at the Space Center, and hope that Jose can take a very active role in Shuttle Fest next year. And we got Guy Bluford, his first flight, STS-8, the first African American to go to space. What else do I see up there, Marty? 118 is Rick Mastraccio, one of his flights there. We're hoping to get Rick at Shuttle Fest there. So we'll be talking about those as the month goes on. The shuttles of the month of August, always providing some good content for our Stay Curious watchers out there. Let's see, any other comments?
Tom Celentano just said,
Yeah, what's Tom say there, Marty? Oh, he read that Allen and the future Pope were both in the same class in 1877, but didn't know each other. So maybe Pope Leo will want to meet and his astronaut classmates someday there. But Andy's very busy running Aerodyne Industries, and in fact, they are financial supporters of the American Space Museum, and we're grateful for that, for sure. So, finally, going out with the first Stay Curious for me in 2 weeks is got to have a little bit of moon madness going on. After all, Marty, the moon is 10 days old. Okay. And so that means that the moon is just a couple days before full phase. It's going to be Saturday, will be our full moon of August. And it's between first quarter and full moon, a gibbous phase. And this is my source of it. This is off of my phone, that you can get this app called Phases of the Moon. It's showing you 10 days old. Excuse me. It is in the constellation Sagittarius. Last night, the moon passed in front of the bright star in Scorpius, Antares, to some of people around the world. But Monday, August 4th, it's 10 days old. Its distance is in kilometers there, 40,000 kilometers, times 0.6 is the 240,000 miles away. 77% of the surface is illuminated. It'll be 100% Saturday, and it'll set at 2:53 a.m. as you see there, rising right now at 4:49 p.m. So you'll start to see it before the sunset sky there. So go out there and get you a little bit of moonshine. After all, that's the only kind of moonshine you can't get too much of. And take your binoculars outside. I know you have a pair to look at sports or birding, and you'll be amazed. Try to hold them as steady as you can in the constellation, the craters that you'll see, and the detail in the Maria, some rills, some bright red craters, all there for you to enjoy tonight as the moon is out dancing across the evening sky. So check that out. Get your little moonshine. Sit back and enjoy the outdoors, as that's part of why I enjoy stargazing, is you really connect with nature. You're hearing the cicadas cacophony in the background. You're hearing noises that you never thought you'd hear before from the neighbor's house, and that sort of stuff going on all the time. So hope you all have enjoyed today's episode of Stay Curious, as I'm getting back in the saddle here. And like I said, we're going to really emphasize a lot more guests on the program here, get space workers lined up. We're running into them every day, and I'm immediately saying, when can I book you on Stay Curious? Because you, our viewer, enjoys these wonderful stories from the people who made history in the shuttle era. And we still got some Apollo people to talk to occasionally. So hope that you've all enjoyed today's programming. If you got something you'd like to hear on Stay Curious, let me know, and we'll effort that as quickly as we can there. So thanks again, Marty Winkle, for all you did to keep everything going here with Raj, and did some excellent repeat programs there that I enjoyed watching. And we're going to get some more remote things going. And like I said, things that you want to have on Stay Curious. After all, you don't get this content anywhere else except the American Space Museum. So until tomorrow, when we'll crank it up and do it again, I'm Mark Marquette saying I'm happy to be back with my family here on Stay Curious, and I can't wait to see you again tomorrow to bridge the space between us. Thank you so much.